Although we don't allow unaccompanied children into the exchange, it's important to recognise that children will come in with parents and could be subjected to abuse, which Safeguarding Children 2018 broadly defines into 4 categories as physical abuse. This is when somebody hurts a child on purpose with the intent to cause harm. Emotional abuse, when the child's feelings and emotions are manipulated or shamed on purpose. Sexual abuse, this may be any sexual activity with a child or introducing a child to act in sexually inappropriate ways. And then there's also neglect, and this is when the child's basic needs for food, clothing, shelter, education, health and safety are not met. It's also important to recognise that children and young people may also experience a whole range of other forms of abuse, such as grooming, coercive control, and even financial abuse, which adults are subjected to. However, these forms of abuse are covered broadly within the 4 definitions given as physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and neglect, as we've just described below, just now. But for more information, signs of physical abuse in children might include, although are not completely exclusive to, reports of injuries without adequate explanation or different explanations between the parent or the child, injuries on the soft parts of the body and a reluctance to show skin or an attempt to cover injuries, or even a change in the child's demeanour. Or definitely if you find a child is expressing fear towards adults, then again this could be an indicator of physical abuse or indeed any other abuse. Emotional abuse is the persistent emotional maltreatment of a child, such as causing severe or persistent adverse effects on the child's emotional development, and it might involve conveying to a child that they are worthless or unloved, inadequate or valued only insofar as they meet the needs of another person. It might involve not giving the child opportunities to express their views deliberately, or silencing them or making fun of them, or say what they say or how they communicate. It may feature age or developmentally inappropriately expectations being imposed onto the child, and these may include interactions that are beyond the child's developmental capacity, as well as overprotection and limitation of exploration of learning, or preventing the child from participating in normal social interaction. Emotional abuse may also involve seeing or hearing the ill treatment of another, or it may involve serious bullying, such as cyberbullying, causing the child frequently to feel frightened or in danger, or the exploitation or corruption of children. Some level of emotional abuse is involved in all types of maltreatment of children, though it may actually occur alone. Signs of emotional abuse might include a child who seems uncomfortable or lacks self-assurance, encountering struggles to control their emotions, having difficulty making or maintaining relationships, that's the child, or the child acting in a way that's inappropriate for their age, poor parental attachment towards the child, unresponsive or neglectful behaviour observed towards the child's needs, or for instance not taking the child to the doctors when they need to go, persistent negative comments made by the parent about the child, inappropriate or inconsistent developmental expectations of the child, for instance the parent that expects the child to be a genius and then when they're not a genius really emotionally abuses them. Parental issues and problems that supersede the needs of the child. So for instance, you might get a parent who knows, let's say the dogs are dangerous in the house, but they're more bothered about the dog's health than the child's health, or a partner perhaps who's unsafe, but again they value their relationship needs higher than the child's. And also dysfunctional family relationships, including domestic abuse or problematic substance use, may also lead to emotional abuse or neglect. Sexual abuse may involve forcing or enticing a child or young person to take part in sexual activities, not necessarily involving a high level of violence, whether or not the child is aware of what is happening, or may involve violence, sadly. The activities may involve physical contact, including assault by penetration, for example, rape or sex, or non-penetrative acts such as masturbation, kissing, all of that stuff, touching outside the clothing, all of the stuff which is not on. Sexual abuse may also include non-contact activities such as involving children looking at sexual images, watching sexual activities, encouraging children to behave in sexually inappropriate ways, or grooming a child in preparation for abuse. Sexual abuse can also take place online, and technology can be used to facilitate online abuse. And sexual abuse is not perpetrated solely by males, it could also be perpetrated by women or groups of people. Signs you need to look for are that a child might be being abused might include blood or discharge on the children, under clothes. You might not see those, but they might describe them. Awkwardness in walking or sitting down, tummy pains, reports of regression back to bedwetting, tiredness, extreme variations of behaviour such as anxious behaviour, even angry behaviour, sexually provocative behaviour that is incompatible with the child's age or understanding, drawings or writing that's sexually explicit, direct disclosures too, although it's important to recognise that young children have neither the experience or understanding to be able to make stories up about sexual assault. Finally, neglect is the persistent failure to meet child's basic physical or psychological needs, likely to result in a serious impairment of the child's health or development or mental health. And neglect may occur during pregnancy as a result of maternal substance abuse, for instance. And signs of neglect might include, although are not exclusive to, frequent injuries, illnesses, infections that are not being treated or being ignored, poor hygiene such as dirty skin and clothing, body odour in children, inappropriate clothing for the weather or ill-fitting or unclean clothing, children presenting as hungry or malnourished, looking malnourished or tired, children who report missing school frequently or tend to be left unsupervised or alone at home. Any child turning up to the exchange on their own is definitely being subjected to neglect. It's also worth noting that children and young people may also experience other forms of abuse, which are described within the next slide, which focuses on specific types of abuse encountered by adults. However, most importantly, if you suspect any of this is happening or you have a feeling, you need to talk. But always, if you're dealing with the child at the time, always make sure the child speaking to you feels that they're being listened to and supported. Reassure the child that they've done the right thing by telling you. Inform them that you'll need to make notes of what they're disclosing to you. And this needs to be factual word for word. And emphasise as well that their abuse is never their fault. And take time, be patient, and let the child go at their own pace. And don't promise to keep information confidential between you and them. Explain that you need to share the information with the safeguarding lead now, who will be able to help. And don't talk, if that child is telling you but they're with the alleged perpetrator, do not talk to the alleged perpetrator about what the child's disclosed, as obviously that would make it worse for the child. Come and talk to us and then record it on an incident form.